Hello guys, today I'm going to be teaching you the basics of Blender, how to navigate it, how to know the controls. There's a lot of controls, they're very daunting, they may seem overwhelming to you. There's so many buttons to click and you may just not know anything about Blender. And that's okay because this tutorial will show you and give you at least a basic understanding of how the software works, and how to use it. So let's get started and jump right in. So this is your basic cube. This is basically the default scene that shows up. You can zoom in. You zoom in with the middle mouse wheel on your mouse. So in order to zoom in, you just zoom in, and then you can zoom out. And I'm using my middle mouse wheel to zoom in and zoom out. So that's the how you zoom in and out in Blender, which you need to know how to do. So yeah, and then what we can do next is we can move objects around, and I'll show you how to do that. Basically, let's uh well, let's keep the cube, so to basically make it simple so that it makes it easier for you. So what you basically can do is you can drag things around by um, clicking the arrows. This grabs it on the x-axis, which is in this direction, and then you can right click to reset it, or you can grab it on the y-axis, which is green, and that's just the other direction. And since Blender's three-dimensional, you also got a z-axis, which is that blue arrow right here. So you can grab it on the blue arrow, and you get to move it on the z-axis, which is basically just the height. It's basically a complicated way of saying height. Z is the same as height. So yeah, that's your three orientations. You got X, you got Y, and you got Z. Okay, and then you can also grab your cube and move it around by pressing right click on the cube, and then press G, and then you can move it around wherever you want. Okay, so let's go over that one more time. You can drag it on the axis of the Y. You got the x-axis here, which you can drag it on, clicking the arrows, and then right click to reset the position. And then you got the z-axis. Again, right click to reset the position to the middle. And then what you could do is, with your cube still selected, press S on your keyboard, which will scale it. And then you just drag these two little arrows that are connected to the mouse cursor, and you can make it as big as you want or as small as you want. And then you can right click at any point to reset, just like that. So I'll show you guys that one more time. Click on your cube, which it's already selected, like because it was selected before. Press S, then you could scale it to any size you want. Okay, so that's the basics of Blender. We covered how to scale and how to move the object. Now we're going to get into a little bit more complicated stuff, but don't worry, it won't be too bad. I'll make sure you understand it, and I'll try to explain it in the easiest way possible. So next, we got rotate. So you press R on your keyboard with the cube still selected, and there you go. That lets you rotate. Okay, one more time. R, rotate. And then if you press R twice with your cube still selected, you get a sort of, what do you call this? Well, you can rotate it in every way possible. Basically, it's not just this. You can rotate it back towards yourself, front ways, in all sorts of directions, which is extremely useful and important to know because this lets you rotate things in various ways. So let's reset that. Let's show you the views. There's different views in Blender that let you view your object from different angles. So if you don't have a numpad on your keyboard, you could just use this view right here, and then they're right here. Or if you have a numpad, you could press the buttons on your numpad, and I'll tell you which buttons to press. But for this video, I'm just going to show you this menu because it's simpler. There's a lot of keyboard shortcuts in Blender and you may forget them, so I figure it's better just to show you them on the menu here. So we're gonna view front view, and the way you do that is you press view front. That's it. And now you could view your object from the front. So you're basically viewing it from this side. So you press front again, and there you go. Now you can view your object from the front view. Let me just make sure I'm still recording. Okay, it's all working. Alright, then you got view right. And basically that just rotated this object 90 degrees to get to the... It didn't rotate the object, sorry. It rotated the view 90 degrees. And now you can view the cube instead of from this way, from this way. So you're viewing the right side of the cube, which is the red arrow. So let's do that again, right. And now that this side of the cube is towards us, which is the right side. Now, let's go back to front. So now it just rotated our view again. So you can see the camera here can give you a sense of orientation. Let's go to right again. See? So now this is here because the viewport was just rotated. But let's go back to front again. And then you also got left view. Left. Now it just rotated us again. Now we're basically viewing the left side of the cube. And now if you still want to view another side of the cube, you got back. Oh wait, no, sorry. Front. Wait, left. Sorry guys, I just made a mistake. Okay, so we're on left view, and yeah. Yeah. So now, what if we want to view the top view, like from the top? So we basically press this, and press top. So now we're viewing the top of our cube. And now you can also view the bottom, and bottom. Now we're viewing it from the bottom. Okay, so yeah, that's your basic angles. You can also see these little numbers here. You could press these numbers on your numpad and it'll allow you to view it the same way without having to click on this menu, which could help you go a lot quicker. So 1, 3, 1, 3, 7, which is top. Wait, 1 is front, 3 is right. Yeah, 3 is right, and then 7 is top. And then there's also 7. No, sorry. Control 7, which makes it opposite, and it makes it you view the bottom. So 7, Control 7, 7, Control 7, which Control 7 views bottom, and just regular 7 is the top. So there you go. You got your basic orientations understood. You got your, you know how to scale. You know how to rotate. You know which direction is which. So now let's get into even more complicated stuff in modeling. Alright, so I will make this easy to understand, so no need to, it won't be daunting, don't worry. So we go to edit mode, and now we can adjust our cube, we can model the cube, And we got our vertices here. Let me see how I'm doing on time. I'm doing great. Alright. So you got vertices on the cube. And you could grab these vertices and drag them all around. And basically what a vertice is it's a point, it's an infinitely small point on your mesh that connects all the edges together to make a 3D object. So you know what? To make this even more simple, I'm going to delete the cube. And I do that by pressing B, which allows a border select, and then letting go, and then, whoops, I gotta select this side too, and then pressing X on my keyboard, delete vertices, and then I press add plane. What a plane is it's basically one side of a cube. That's all it is. It's a flat two-dimensional surface. And now it's only got 4 vertices. And I figure I do that to make it less complicated and to help you guys understand how it works. So basically we got these vertices. They can be dragged around and they're connecting edges together to make a surface. So these vertices are basically connecting the edges to make lines, which then can make a face, just like that. So if you, let me think of a way to explain this. It's kind of hard to explain. So basically, 4 vertices can make a face, and that's called a quad. And most people love to model with quads. I do, most people do. Triangles cause lots of issues with topology in Blender and other 3D software, so let's just, you should always stick with quads whenever possible. And this is a quad because it's got 4 sides. So now what you could do is you could press E on your keyboard, and what this will do, and then you just click your mouse, and what this does is it actually doubles the vertices, and then you can drag it like this, and now you basically just extruded another plane from the bottom plane, which is all connected, and now you made a cube. So that's how you make a cube from a plane. But now how do you model things more advanced? Well, you got Control R. So let's deselect everything. Press Control and R on your keyboard. Then you move your mouse until you get it where you want. In this case, I want it right here. And you can move it left, right. But let's keep it default, so I'll right click. There we go. And now, these 3 buttons here are vertice select, edge select, and face select mode. In this case, I will go to face select, so I could select the faces instead of just the vertices. These are the vertices, I don't want to select these, I want to select the faces. So now we're in face select, and now you could select whole faces, which is really useful and is pretty much necessary for this step. So now, what I'm going to do is, what can we do? Press E, and that will extrude it again. And now, we can add more edge loops. Let's see. Let's add one there. And then we can go back to face, extrude. Yeah, and we're basically modeling now. It's some kind of weird cubic structure, I don't even know what it is, but I'm just trying to do this to illustrate how Blender works. Well, let's just see what we do. Why don't we extrude that all the way out? We could extrude something here. Yeah, so yeah, pretty cool. Now what we got, we know how to do basic modeling. we know what edge loops are, but now what can we do? So what else is there? So basically you got modifiers here. Let's go back to object mode. You got some modifiers. Let's go to subdivision surface, and now 2. So basically what this does is it takes your vertices and it subdivides them. And this is great for smoothing objects. But it's not good in our case because we have non-organic surfaces, or they're blocky, and we want to keep it that way. So what if you want to use subsurf, which basically smooths out your mesh, and you want a blocky surface, or non-organic modeling they call it. So basically you go back to edit mode, and then you could click this tool panel and turn your mean crease up to 1, okay? Mean crease for all the faces up to 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. Okay, you guys get the point. So basically you don't have to do this to all. Whatever you want to be not be smooth, you want it to be blocky, you have to set the mean crease to 1 if you want to use subsurf. But in this case, I'm just going to turn subsurf off. So we covered how to use edge loops. We covered how to extrude. We covered the basics of modeling. Let's show you another feature that Blender offers. With Control I, no, I, yes, it's I. You press I on your keyboard, you could inset the face. And that basically allows you to make a smaller face connected to the larger face. So it's like this. And you could scale it. Yeah. So now we can extrude that insetted face. Hold on a sec. Yeah. We could extrude that insetted face by pressing E, clicking. Then we can drag it in. And now you can basically create some kind of chimney, some kind of hollow, anything hollow, or it doesn't have to be hollow. It could be something like that. Whatever you want to model. Yeah. And now you can grab that, you can do all fancy, but I'm not going to cover that too much in this tutorial. I'll show that in an advanced modeling tutorial. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So you could change all sorts of dimensions around. You can drag planes, you could do whatever you could drag two-dimensional planes. Sorry guys, faces around. I said you can model all sorts of complicated stuff if you want to, of course. But I'm not going to cover that in this tutorial because it would take hours, and I'll cover that in a more advanced tutorial, modeling specific things like such as, I don't know, cars, bridges, I don't know, whatever you want to model. But anyway, let's go back to object mode. We're done covering modeling in this tutorial for now, but I'm going to show you about materials and how materials work. So first of all, let's change this, see this little menu here, to Cycles Render, which is important because it's much more realistic and it's used much more often. So let's go to Materials, which is right here, and close that. Oh, I got an add-on. Hold on, guys. I don't want to confuse you, so I'm going to close something out. Don't worry about that. Alright. So each object in your 3D view needs a material. Otherwise, it'll just look like clay. Which, if you wanted to, it's alright, but it would look much nicer with the material. So let's say we want this to be, I don't know, blue. Well, we're going to change this to blue, which is good. But I don't think this looks like any kind of material. Like, I don't see this looking like plastic. It doesn't look like metal. It just looks like a dull, I don't know, object that's blue, which I don't really want. I want realism. So what I'm going to do is go use nodes. Don't worry, guys. I'll lead you through this. This gets a little complicated, but I'll explain it. And now you could go to, you got different shaders, which allow you to use different materials in Blender, which you can mix together to make more complicated materials. But in this tutorial today, I'm only going to be showing you how to click use nodes. I'm only going to be showing you how to use the default shader with Blender, which is called Principled. Oh, I'm in compositing nodes. I need to be in material. Alright, so we're going to delete that. We're going to enter Principled BSDF, which is basically the default Blender shader. It's the best for beginners at Blender. It's much easier than setting up complicated networks of nodes with all sorts of shaders, combinations added. It's much easier to just use the Principled BSDF. But if you want to do much more advanced materials, then I would suggest using lots of nodes. But in this tutorial, I'm only going to be showing you how to use the Principled BSDF because it would take forever for me to explain it, how to use other nodes. So now, let's go to Rendered. Let's view your camera. And we don't need to see how it looks in the camera. We'll just view it as, you know what? Hold on, guys. I'm just going to adjust the light. I don't like how it looks. How do I do this? Why isn't it? Oh. We're not even okay. Alright, that looks much better. Alright, so we just need to change it to a sun lamp. Let's get a good view here. Right there. Alright. Click on material. Then, I don't know, make it blue. Yeah, blue. Yeah. And now, what you got here is you got different, items here. Metallic allows you to set how metallic you want it. Now, if I change this up, you'll notice it really doesn't look like metal, and that's because I don't have a background picture. So for now, we're just going to leave it. Because in order for something to look like metal, you need reflections, and there's nothing to reflect in here. All it is just gray. So that's why it won't look like metal if you turn it up. So we're just going to leave that. Specular, I always like to suggest that you leave that to 0, because it's not realistic. Instead, what we'll be playing with is roughness. And in short terms, like, as a quick explanation, I'm not going to go into too much detail because it will take up too much time, but I'll explain that roughness, you turn that up, it makes it rougher and less reflective. Turn it down, it makes it much more reflective. So let's put that to 0.5. Nope, 0.5. And then sheen, that's one that's not used often, so we're not going to worry about that. Sheen tint, I never use that. Now, clear coat may be used. It's used often on car paint colors, but in this tutorial, I'm not going to go into it because it's a lot of explaining. IOR is one you actually may want to use sometimes because it gives realistic glass. Basically, it's index of refraction, and it shows how much glass can refract, per se. It's probably a lot more complicated than how I'm explaining it, but I don't want to take up too much time, so I would always leave this at 1.450. It looks the best. Yeah. So, I actually got something here, a project. Where is it? Let me see, I'm doing on time. Alright. What's it called? Hold on, oh, here it is. Alright, so I got a project here that I've done. And I have given these a glass material. Hold on just 1 second. Okay, so these have a glass material. If you go to rendered, oh god, please don't crash. Huh, oh, hold on 1 second. Why are we there? Okay. Alright, hang on, just to speed this up a little bit. Oh, okay, alright. So now you could see we have a nice looking crystal material here. And the reason that is because metallic is turned to 0, specular is 0, roughness, well, for glass, I would suggest you leave it just slightly above 0. In this case, 0.02, because no glass is completely clear. There's always some slight amounts of roughness. Nothing is completely clear in the real world. So that's how I left it. And then transmission. That is one I forgot about. That is important. If you turn that to 0, it basically changed the whole look. And everything's opaque. Transmission is how much light can go through. So if you want glass, that has to stay at 1. Roughness 0.02. Transmission always at 1. If you want it clear. If you don't want it clear, then turn it all the way down. But I like to leave that at 1. And yeah, that is basically how to use nodes. I'm trying to think I have anything else to cover. You know what? This tutorial is getting pretty long, and I figure I'll cover more in the next tutorial. So thanks guys. If you have any comments, suggestions, anything, comment, subscribe to the video. I hope this helps, this video, and I'll be making many more Blender videos and tutorials, animations, you name it. So yeah, that concludes this video today. Bye guys.